Welcome and let's talk about it with Minister Dee Dee Gales. Mature conversations for mature adults with mature adults. Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. We are going to be talking about affirmative action today. So, you see, we got guests. We got Anjanette Speaks. She has her own YouTube channel. So, I definitely want her to put her link in the private chat so I can make sure I put this in the chat so everybody can go follow you too. And then we also have Brian Beasley joining us today. Yeah. I want you guys to take a few minutes to introduce yourselves and say what you want to say. Go ahead, Anjanette.
Hey, you guys. My name is Anjanette with Anjanette Speaks, the real, the raw, and the inspiring. I am on Instagram, but I'm acting funny on Instagram. I'm on TikTok talking about stuff, but on Indoor Entertainment and on YouTube, I have a channel where I'm talking about interracial issues, things that affect the Black community, and I am on Facebook as well at Anjanette Speaks. Find me, go look me up. I'm a mother. I have a job. I'm a minister. I'm a comedian. I do all sorts of things. So I'm grateful, happy to be here with my TikTok twin. Thank you so much for having me.
Tell us more about the comedian stuff, because you said comedian. I want to know.
Yeah, so I dabble in stand up. So in my city, there was a lady that was doing stand up when it wasn't really popular here. So she started it, and then I started opening because I'm a poet. And so I started opening doing poetry, and then I tried my hand in comedy. And then I've done a couple of things where I've opened up for comedy, opened up for other shows. Like I've done like women's events. I've done some church events. And I've done, stand up open mic night. I just did one Thursday. So that's what I do. Like, it depends. If I'm doing poetry.
Huh? You got any videos of your comedy?
You know what? I'm going to see if I can find one. The one that they recorded, I'm going to see if they still have it. And okay, I'll send it to you.
Okay. All right, Brian. Let's hear it.
My name is Brian Beasley. I'm a dedicated father. I'm a dedicated child to God. I'm an elder at my church. I'm about to be an ordained minister. I'm a motivational speaker. I'm a business owner. I own a moving and delivery company. I'm just trying to see everybody succeed and eat well.
Okay, well, everybody know me. Y'all know me. I'm not talking about myself. Okay, so y'all know the topic. We're here to talk about affirmative action. We all know what happened. We know that it is no longer. And we want to talk about what the possible implications of this could be. Give me just a second. I'm sorry I lost y'all. There we go. Okay, so yeah, we want to talk about the possible implications of what this could mean. And when I got to researching affirmative action, even though, let me just be specific, because they've only ended affirmative action as it relates to education and college admissions. Because you know they used to use race as a factor when admitting people into college. So they can't do that anymore. But if you look at affirmative action as a whole, though, it does affect other things. They haven't abolished those other things, but those other things could be next because of what they've done with education. You know? So I'm going to start it off by us looking at this video. Give me just a minute. I want to try to get, there we go. This is my first time hosting with other people, so I'm trying to figure it out. Somebody's mic is giving us feedback. Let me see.
You're doing good, girl. You're doing good.
See which one it is. Okay. Okay. Anjanette, is your mic giving us feedback? So, oh, Brian just left us again.
I'll pause.
But I think it's your mic giving us feedback. Oh, it could have been his because now I don't hear it anymore. Hold on. Nope, there it is. Yep, it's you. It's you. Okay. So give me a minute. I'm going to present this screen back because I forgot to add the audio. And there's Brian back. Hold on, Brian. I don't know what happened to you. Give me a second, Brian. All right, there you go, Brian. All right. Okay, so let's start the video and we're going to go to the beginning. So I guess this one is pretty good. This is
all right, folks. So
this is Will Kane and Stephen A. Smith being Will Kane is interviewing Stephen A. Smith, and they're talking about affirmative action. And Roland Martin is actually doing his reaction to that video. But we're going to do a reaction to the combination of the both. So let's start off by listening to it. You all tell me if y'all want me to jump in and stop something, okay? At a point.
In the wake of the Supreme Court's decision preventing race from being used in college admissions, oh my goodness, these white conservatives are just loving this. They're beside themselves, and I love it when they talk about merit. It shouldn't be about race. It's about merit. See, whenever it involves Black people or Latinos or Native Americans, in some case Asians, they always go, look, this cannot be about race. Yet whenever it involves folks who are white, they are stunningly silent when it involves them. It's sort of like, and I say it all the time, you'll see a story and they'll say, the president meets with a group of Black pastors. But when it's a group of white pastors, they don't say nothing. They just call them pastors. And so it's always curious when that happens. And I sort of crack up when they do that.
Okay,
because of what was it saying?
Host of the Stephen A. Smith Show and First Take on ESPN joins us now. Stephen A., great to see you, man.
What's going on, buddy? How you doing, man?
You want me to just go right at that clip? Is that how we should do this? Should we just start right there?
Feel free.
Okay. There's no such thing.
Let's go. I'm here.
I know you are. The problem is, Stephen A., in truth, when it comes to justice, there is no such thing as Black America and white America. There are only...
Okay, I just wanted to pause that right there. I wanted to pause because when he said that, I don't know about y'all. At the beginning of that, when he said that when it comes to justice in America, there is no white America or black America. And see, this is what I watch conservative news media and I watch regular news media, but this is what I don't like when it comes to conservative news media. And I'm conservative. You know that. Everybody knows that. But what I don't like is they're trying to push this narrative that there is no difference in the judicial system or in the justice system when it comes to black and white people. And I think this is part of the frustration of Black America is that, yeah, we want everything to be equal. We want everything to be fair, but we still have to deal with reality if we're going to get anywhere in this situation, if anything is going to change. And so this mindset to me that he introduces at the beginning of this video or the beginning of the interview is the problem to me. Because you're trying to frame it in a way and you're trying to get us to buy into that ideology that there's no different. There is no, white versus black when it comes to the judicial. There is no white America. There is no black America. But in reality, as much as we don't want it to be that way, it is a reality, right? You're muted, Anjanette, so you can speak.
Oh, it is. It is.
And y'all jump in anytime.
It is that way.
See,
it is that way. And what he did is he framed the conversation from the beginning. And he dismissed all of what's happened. And I don't feel the thing with me with America, right, is it's like having an abusive, narcissistic boyfriend that's abusing you and then telling you he's not abusing you.
Yeah,
but he's not.
That didn't hurt. Why you bring
that didn't hurt? No, that was a long time ago. What do you mean? What do you mean? What are you talking about? That was a long time ago. Why are you acting like this? Here you go again. Here you go again.
Now?
What does that got to do with right now? We're talking about right now today. Have you been discriminated against in the last hour? Like, seriously? I'm sick.
Here's the thing. He was supposed to frame it like that because he doesn't, where he's coming from as a conservative, middle-aged white man, there is no black America, white America. It's only America to him. He's never had to live, understand, or be put through what the non-conservatives have had to go through to see the difference. Now, he framed the question, if you ask me, if I was a news reporter and I was in his shoes, he did it the exact same way I would have did it. He started the pattern of the conversation and the direction it was going to go from the beginning. He placed everything in order to fit his own specific agenda. Now, is it wrong? We all know it's wrong, but perception is reality, so he doesn't perceive it to be wrong. So to him, there's nothing wrong with it.
Right. And to me, to start the whole conversation, we're talking about affirmative action. We've just had the situation with like George Floyd and the all the other racial things that have happened, and you constantly see the situations where you have, the Karen situations or whatever, where people are calling people the N-word. You know racism still exists. You see the two-tier justice system where you have a person of color versus a white person get charged for the same crime and it get two different, sentences and two different results. So to me, it just to me points out the obliviousness of those people that we're trying to get to understand our point of view as Black people. And they're doing a new thing now though, because to point out racism now makes you racist.
Do you really think that?
Yeah, and it makes us them racist, and it makes them gaslight. Period.
Right. Because for us to notice racism, for us to point out racism, now they're doing that. Oh, you're racist. They're trying to do reverse.
You know what? Like I tell them, if you look at what the definition of a racist is, I'm black. I cannot be racist. I can be prejudiced. I cannot be racist because racist does not, the word racist and the definition does not apply to me. I can't be racist. I'm not a head of any systems. I haven't created any laws. I'm not in no judicial government. I cannot be racist. I can be prejudiced, but I can't be racist. And that is the thing with me, with the whole America thing and African Americans. They're not going, we have been trying for 400 years to get these people to see where they're wrong. The last 68 years to get these people to see where they're wrong. And here's the thing, what they do. We coming along after the civil rights movement, and then we had the crack epidemic. Now we're coming out of all of that, right? Now they're saying, well, we never owned slaves. So I don't know what to tell you. Because my grandmother didn't own slaves, my great grandmother didn't own slaves, and I just feel like you had the best option. You had everything you needed, and I just think at some point, if there's going to be healing in the nation, America has to take responsibility for what they did to indigenous and black people in this country. Period. Point blank. You got to say, listen. If somebody says nigga to you, they're going to jail. If somebody burns down your house, they're going to jail.
Say N-word.
Oh, my bad.
If we speak,
if somebody says, I don't want to get bad. I'm sorry. I have no filter.
Don't get the video banned.
Yeah, don't get it bad, please. Don't get it bad. I'm sorry. If they say N-word to you, or if they burn down your house, or if they burn down your school, or if they burn down your church, we're going to treat them just like as it was anybody else, because you're an American and you have the right to worship, the right to learn, the right to do. Until America does that, I don't want to hear nothing about there's no black and white. Until a black woman and a white woman can get the same sentence for the same crime, I don't want to hear nothing about it's equal. It's not equal. It's not equal in the justice system. It's not equal in the Supreme Court. It's not equal. I don't care if your mama didn't own a slave, if your great grandfather didn't own a slave, if your people is from Belgium and they never had slaves. If you're in America, okay, and you know that it's not equal, until it is equal, it's black and white. Period. Point blank. Black, white, Hispanic, and that's it. I'm not going for it.
What do you think, Brian? Do you think black people can be racist?
No. I agree with everything that she said. I don't think we can be racist. We can be prejudiced. Now, that's black people as a whole. Now, I do believe the black people who are in power, the black people who are running things and are the heads and control everything of whatever it is that they can control, I believe they have the opportunity to be racist, but that doesn't dictate the black people as a whole. As a whole, I think, as she said, excuse me, as a whole, as she said, we can be prejudiced, but we can't be racist. Now, here's my thing when it comes to the judicial system. The laws in the judicial system have been the same since they were first written. They've never changed them. And when those laws were written, black people weren't considered people. We were still considered property.
Only thing they're doing now is grafting us into the laws that wasn't written for us in the first place.
Exactly. So, but here's the thing, though. You're not going to get anything changed until you get the laws changed. And the laws won't be changed until we actually exercise our right to vote on a local level. Forget about voting for the president. He's a figurehead. You got to vote for your judges. You got to vote for your people in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th district. You got to vote for the ones who definitely impact your community.
Absolutely.
And us as black people, I was looking at voter turnouts. We only vote only 30% of the African Americans vote for their community leaders. But you can get 80% to vote for the president. I would rather see that flipped around and see 80% vote for the community leaders and 30% vote for the president.
Because it matters most who's in the House of Representatives and who's in the Senate. Because those are the people that are actually passing the law. You have the House who draft the bills, and then you have the Senate who, makes them, who bumps them up to the president, who then signs it and writes it into law. So, and maybe a lot of people don't know how it goes, but at the end of the day, the president has very little power when it comes to making changes in the laws that affect us most, unless they have the Senate and the House majority. Then that's a lot of things can get done.
Right.
So, go ahead. Was somebody about to say something?
No, I was agreeing with you.
Okay, so now back to the question as to whether or not Black people can be racist. I disagree with both of y'all. That's why I let y'all talk. But I believe anybody can be racist. And I think oftentimes what we do as Black people is we confuse racism with oppression. Because being racist is just having a certain view about another race based on their color alone. So if we think that, we have a general opinion, I don't want to make a racist statement because I don't want my video banned, but, remember the movie White Men Can't Jump?
Yes.
Technically, that was a racist title because that's assuming something about a whole group of people based on their race. That's racism. So if you make a general statement about any race in general, that's racism. Now, racism applied to a power structure to be able to affect other people's lives, that's oppression. So when I take my racism that I feel against you and I use that to prevent you from getting housing, to prevent you from getting good jobs, to prevent you from it, that's oppression. That's when you're using your racism and you're putting power to it. Because you can have a racist person that doesn't have, anything, and they can still hate you or not like you or have a negative opinion about you based on your color alone. That's what racism is. If you look up the definition of racism, that's all it is. It's prejudice or bias.
So the definitions have definitely changed.
Yeah, based on somebody's racism. Because oppression is what we are affected by, is what Black people have been affected by. That's racism in action is oppression. But anybody can be racist of any color. Any person can have a view about another person based on their race. That's a prejudice.
Isn't that a prejudice?
Prejudice doesn't even have to be race-based at all. You can be prejudicial when it comes to sex. You can be prejudicial when it comes to body size, body weight. There's so many other things that you can be prejudiced about that doesn't have anything to do with race at all. You can not like short people. That's a prejudice. Racism is a prejudice that's based on a person's race. That's racism. And then to take that prejudice and apply it to a power system to affect people's lives, that's oppression. So if you look up the definition of the word oppression and you look up the definition of the word,
it's systematic oppression. I'm reading.
Right. That's yes. So in a lot of and when Black people and when we as Black people hold the idea that we can't be racist, that doesn't help to heal racism any more than a white person refusing to acknowledge their racism. Because we all have to be able to acknowledge our group, our racism as a whole, in order for us to heal. Because white people can be racist, Black people can be racist, Hispanic people, all of us can be racist, but not all of us have the power to oppress the other.
And so when I did this series, they definitely changed, okay, what the meaning of racism was and what racist was. Because at one point, they didn't have it broken down as systematic racism. At one point, it was the people that were in charge of the system that were discriminating against other colors based on color, creed, religion. That was what we would call racist. But now I'm reading it again, and they've broken it down to where anybody can be considered racist, but systematic oppression, like you're saying, is a different.
That's when you take your race and your racism and your prejudicial views, and you apply it. You use those things to hold another person down. Like, I cannot like you because of your color. Or I can have an opinion about you because of your color. But if I turn around and won't hire you because of your color, now I'm taking my racism to oppress you, to prevent you from achieving something. That's oppression. And so. And I feel like we as Black people, we have to realize.
I got it. I see.
So let's listen to the rest of this video.
Individuals.
Okay.
And so when you assign
Yeah. See, already that boy starting off lying. He already starting off lying. Will, you lying. See, I love the utopia when they say, no, there are no. See, that sort of sounds like the Obama speech. There are no black Americas. There are no red Americas, no blue Americas. There's just the United States of America. That shit sounds cute. It sounds cute and wonderful. It's so like the people when they respond to King's "I Have a Dream" speech. They always like, "Who is the?"
When Roland said that, I died laughing. He said that sounds cute. Could have died laughing for that one.
Content of character, and why can't our little boys, little girls hold hands? But they are silent when it comes to redlining. They're silent when it comes to discrimination. They're silent when it comes to home values in census tracts, largely Black. They're silent when you talk about the health disparities between whites and Blacks. They're silent about all of those things, but no, they're just a collection of individuals. That has always been a lie in this country. Press play.
Ability to individuals of the past, to individuals of today, there's simply nothing to hold anyone accountable for. Why do I pay the... So
this is what I wanted to stop. He said there's nothing to hold anybody accountable for anymore. This is what... and I hate to say white America versus Black America, but this is what they believe. They feel like there's nothing to hold them accountable for. So let's think about it on the basis of crime, right? If I go steal $1 million, right? And I give you $100,000 and you know it was stolen, and I give you $100,000, Brian, and you know it was stolen, they can charge you for receiving stolen property, right?
Yeah.
Right? So if their ancestors stole people and used their labor to build up their inheritance that they received from their ancestors, they received stolen property.
See, here's what he's trying to say, though. And I would agree with you. But just to put the shoe on the other foot, what he's saying is, since you want to use that stolen analogy, what he's saying is, my great-grandparents stole, I ain't steal nothing.
Yeah, but you got to go back to my analogy. They stole it and gave it to him as his inheritance. So
But see,
he received stolen property.
What he's gonna say is he didn't inherit none of them Black people. He didn't receive the stolen property.
But as the majority for years, I mean, just you got to think it was only the 1960s when the civil rights movement happened. It ain't been that long. It's only been It's been that long ago. So
my mama was born in 54. She's 67 years old.
My mama was born in 49. Martin Luther King rolled past her house as a little girl. She saw them march in Alabama. They walked right past her house on Dallas Road. So you have to think about it like this. If they've benefited from the robbery, from the essay, from the slavery, if they benefited from that up until the 60s, they benefited from that because discrimination and oppression was still pervasive in the United States up until the 60s, even into the 70s with redlining and 80s. You know, so for them to sit there and act like they have not benefited from what was done to Black America, to me is not even ignorance to me, because you would have to be completely blind, deaf, and dumb to not put those two together. To me, it's would you say gaslighting?
It's narcissism. It's gaslighting.
It's narcissistic gaslighting is what they're doing. You want to sit here and act like you have not benefited from it, and they can point out a few Black millionaires and say, "Oh, well, if they can do it, you can do it." You know, but we don't. And I feel like Black America does need to take some responsibility when it comes to our success as a whole when it comes to race. Because yes, we can talk about the crack epidemic, but on my street, I didn't see any white drug dealers on the corner. You get what I'm saying? So we do
but we didn't see the white drug dealers.
Hold on, we do have to accept some responsibility. But yes, they may have put it in our community, but at the end of the day, it was up to us to partake of it, help sell it, help distribute it, and get addicted to it. So we do have to take some responsibility.
And I can agree with that up until a certain point, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because Black people were working, Black men, let me be specific, Black men were working at factories as bus drivers. They were what we would call blue collar workers, taking care of their families. They closed down those places that they went to work. Then they told the woman, if you get food stamps, your man can't be here. So what does he go do? He goes out and he begins to pimp and he begins to sell drugs. Not to necessarily take care of his family, we can say that, but what they were trying to do was survive at this point because they can't go get a job now. Because
they want to keep their money under the table. So
because they can't get a job now because they closed all the factories. Where were they going to work at?
Here's the thing, and here's why I have a different view on that.
Okay.
Black Wall Street was the most prevalent thing in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Black folks, we ain't never been good working for people in our lives.
I know about what happened there.
We were always good at creating our own wealth. See, I believe us as Black men got lazy and decided that it would be easier to go work for somebody else than create our own. So when you go work for somebody else, you're under their thumb and rule anyway.
That's right.
I got sick of punching Amazon's time clock.
Right.
I got sick of abiding by Amazon's rules. I got sick of doing everything that Amazon told me. And then they had the right to delegate how much money. They had the right to place a value on me. The only way that I can truly accept my full worth is if I get out here and make it legitimately and legal for myself so that I can provide an opening and a way for my people. Now it's funny because I've got a Caucasian dude that works for me and I've got an African American. I sit in the position that Jeff Bezos sat in where I dictate how much they work. I dictate what they make. I dictate their lifestyle on a legitimately legal level. None of them dictate mine. So as African American men, first of all, we need to quit trying to get out the hood and we need to reach back and help somebody achieve our
develop it.
Got it.
Yeah, develop the hood.
Develop our hoods, because here's what's happening. I don't know what's going on in Texas, but here in Cleveland, they're starting this gentrification process.
It is. Sure is.
And what's getting ready to happen is you're about to see the projects and all of the inner cities cleared out. And they're sending all of those folks as far out to the suburbs as they can.
Sure are.
Why? Because they want to bring their own back. They want them to buy it for dirt cheap, sit on it for 10 years, then it'll be worth triple. Where the black folks are saying, oh, they want to buy my house. You can go ahead and have it. It ain't worth nothing anyway. No, the house isn't worth anything. The land is worth everything.
That's right.
We have to get out of this mindset of renters and borrowers and go into ownership and leasing. We have to gain back our own. Nobody's going to give me anything.
So back on what you were saying about the home ownership and stuff. Now, see, this is where I believe, like, people are only talking about the affirmative action being abolished as it relates to education, but there were affirmative action laws that applied to housing, that applied to banking, that applied to corporate America. Those laws are still in place, but there's a domino effect I see on the way.
Because absolutely. And my thing is that they just trying to see how we're gonna take this.
Right. See, if they
before they slowly start snatching everything.
Correct. If they can topple the educational portion, then they coming for the rest of it.
They won't ever get to the financial aspect of it because the two biggest banks in America are Bank of America and Wachovia Bank. Those are the two biggest banks in America. The COO of both of those banks are African American women, and they have all African American people under them. They won't get to that. They can do it with the educational system.
Well, you gotta understand, those banks, even though they might be large, they're still under the thumb of the Federal Reserve. So
exactly.
So the Federal Reserve can shut them down anytime they get ready or control what they do. They're pegs on the monopoly board.
The reason they won't do it is because one thing the white people aren't is very stupid. We may think they are, but they're not. They're not going to stop their money. They will stop everything else. They're not cutting off their financial income.
They'll reroute it. They'll reroute it. Believe me.
That's why we have the cryptocurrency that they're working on, so that they can transfer that to one currency. So yeah, they're and here's the thing. I think for us, what this means to Black people, we always miss it, and we always come in at the end of the curve. We need to realize that we can do Black Wall Street again. We need to build our own schools. We need to build our own banks. We need to take advantage because we getting the glimpse of what they about to do. We know how to hustle. We know how this works. We know we done worked in banks for 30 years. We need to open up a bank. I done been in property management for 20 years. I can write every law, every policy according to Texas penal code I want to. I've been in property. I know what to do. So guess what? I'm going to make sure my people are housed. We got banks, we got churches, we got schools. We have got to figure out how to live in America, right? Be in America, not of America.
Uh-oh. I didn't mean to put that right there. I'm sorry. I'm doing stuff in the background. I didn't mean to put that in the general comment.
We getting to the place where we need to be motivated by this. This don't need to be, oh my God, good. You don't need to educate my children because you erasing my children's history anyway. You lying to them anyway. So thank you.
That's true.
Then I can take my Black kids to the HBCUs. And I can get money for the HBCUs, and we can continue to do our thing.
What do y'all think about CRT?
The critical race theory.
Yeah. What do you think about that? What is your take on critical race theory?
I think that our colonizers.
Do you think it's a good thing to teach in school for people of color, or is it not a good thing to teach in school?
Yeah, you got to teach it all. You need to teach Indian history, which is worse in this country than ours. They still messing with the Indians right now today. They still messing with the Indians. 1994, they were messing with the Indians.
Critical race theory is not necessarily about teaching accurate history, though. Critical race theory, y'all gotta excuse me, I gotta keep myself. I feel a little nauseous. I took medicine. But critical race theory is more of a theory about the mindset and the mentality of non-people of color as it relates to people of color. So,
Right.
it's not necessarily about the history of people of color. I think we can teach that accurately in school, and I believe it should be taught accurately in school. But critical race theory takes it to another level by saying that all non-people of color have prejudicial or racist views towards people of color, whether they realize it or not. It's like saying they all are racist, you know.
Right.
So,
And so also what's happening too, I don't know about anywhere else, but in Texas, what's happening here is they are the reason why they want the critical race theory in the school is because they don't want their kids to feel bad about what their ancestors did. Because like when they started doing history with my son, the white kids was coming up to my son saying, "Man, bro, I'm sorry." Like, man, like feeling bad and going and asking their parents questions, their grandparents questions, and accusing them of being, it was causing a lot of confusion between one generation and the other. And that's how I don't know about anywhere else, but in Texas, that's how they started talking about it, was because it was causing a rift between the Generation X and generation, what is this, our kids and the baby boomers. And before that, right? So they were going to their great grandparents saying, "Hey, so grandpa, great grandpa owned slaves? Why would we do that to black people? Why would we do that to Indians? What's wrong with that?"
I think this younger generation is more racially sensitive. So when they hear about the details of what happened during slavery, they are really vexed by it. They don't like what happened, and they're going to
they are
parents and grandparents like, "Hey man, what up?" And that's what they're
that's where it came from.
But
that's where it came from.
And
but I think it should still be accurately taught, though. Now, I do believe that you can't hide. To me, you can't. Don't try to whitewash slavery. It was what it was. You stole people from another country under the pretense of one thing to bring them to a foreign land, strip them, beat them, essay them, chain them, and kept them in bondage for hundreds of years to help build a nation that they are still not 100% equal in as a people.
See, here's the thing. First and foremost, I would love it if they taught CRT in school, especially if they taught it accurately. You want to have the Caucasian race implode? Teach them critical race theory. Teach them why the mentality of their people were to treat the non-coloreds or the colored people the way they did, because they're going to learn the whole negative side of their own race. Now,
so I can agree with you there, because I feel like it's okay to talk about the ideology and the thinking of people back then. But to take that and lump that same ideology onto white people today is not right. Because we
here's
can't
the thing.
assume that all of them are like that.
The white people of today, they're not going for that. They're going to say, "You guys are crazy back then. Now I see what you were for who you really are." And like they're saying now, we're not them. And
but what I'm talking about is the older bunch that still are not really ready to 100% accept that.
They never will be ready to accept.
Those are the ones that are blocking the full teaching of what happened during that period in history. They
But
want
how are
to
they
gloss.
blocking it?
They want to gloss over it, and I feel like there's some parts of critical race theory that I don't agree with, but I do agree that slavery needs to be taught accurately. Don't leave out the fact that you were beaten and whipping, and don't make civil rights and slavery all about, okay, they were enslaved, then they were free. That's all they want to teach. Is they were enslaved. It started at this period. It ended at this period because the big great white hope, who wasn't really white because Abraham Lincoln was part African American, let all of them go. You know, my thing is they don't want to get into the details of slavery. And I feel like without telling the details of it, you're not going to get a full understanding of how bad it was and how it affects people of color today.
Here's the thing, though, and this is what I took an African American studies class when I was in college. And what it taught me was, first of all, the slaves who came over from Africa, they weren't stolen. The white people never went to Africa and stole anybody. There were civil wars going on in Africa, and the people that they got from Africa were already enslaved over there, and the white man traded silver, spices, and better weapons for their slaves. So the tribes over there were like, yo, if you can continue to give us these better weapons and help us win this war, we will continue to give you these people.
The reason why I say stolen from their land, because you're right, they were enslaved, and actually it was the Arab race along with other African people who enslaved them. If you want to go back to the whole history. But the reason why I say stolen from their land is because those people didn't want to be slaves, and they didn't want to they had no choice. So even though they were enslaved and sold to them, they still technically were stolen from you know what I'm saying?
They were going to be killed over there by the tribes anyway.
They were still, they were
no.
They weren't willing participants. And
no. Because what happened was that you're right. Some of those people were, but what happened and what made this thing blow up was then they stopped getting the ones that they wanted, because they kept saying that, hey, you gave me these 200 and 100 of them died. So what they did, they invaded Africa all the way into the Ivory Coast and went and got all them big slaves.
And they started
getting African kings, queens. They started, because they were saying them slaves that they got over there, they sick. Yeah. They throwing up and going on. So what they did, yes, that's true. That's how it started. But where the violation came in at is when the white man just went in and started just kidnapping everybody. They started taking everybody. At first it was slaves, and at first it was the people that were already enslaved from the tribes. It was that. But when
they also went to convincing them that they were coming over. They did deceive them and convince them that they was coming over for one thing, and promising them jobs and promising them shelter, promising them a better life in America, just to get over there, and was enslaved.
Because look this, slave trade, 1619 was the start of the Atlantic slave trade, sometimes the 1600s. So Plymouth Rock happened in 1619. We have been going to Spain in 565. We have been going to Cuba and all these other places way years before the slave trade happened. Why? Because we were indentured servants. We would go over to Cuba, we would pick up the sugar canes and all that stuff, and we would come back with the money that we had, right? And then we would do whatever, live your life, whatever. Or some of them settled over there in Cuba or in Brazil or wherever they were. But when the slave trade happened, the Portuguese told the Americans, because the Portuguese is the ones that came and got us. The Portuguese said, Listen,
Okay,
I know
Brian.
what a lick is that can help America with their economy. And they like, what? And they like, yeah, I got a lick. We've been getting slaves from Africa for 5, 6, 7, 11,000 years, 1100 years. What? Yeah. Go over there, get a boat, go over there, talk to them, give them this, give them that, and they gonna give you some slaves. Yeah, yeah. The Portuguese put them on.
Mm-hmm.
And when they put them on, then they came over there and they just kidnapped everybody. That's how the violation happened.
So what were you saying? Is there anything you want to add, Brian? I want to make sure you speak.
Oh no. I was agreeing with her, but my thought and theory is I'm more along the lines of, are we going to continue to blame our past and let the past shape our future? Or are we, when do we get to the point in time when we say, you know what? We know what happened, we know it did happen, but we have the power now, us as African Americans, we have the power now to dictate our future.
But do we though? Because
yes, you do.
My opinion is I don't think now when it relates to education, I really can't speak on that because I think if you have the intelligence, you can get into college. Maybe when it comes to these Ivy League schools, it's more based on legacies and race may play more of a factor.
And guess what? They're gonna get in anyway.
Right. But then this is my concern is I don't think where I see it headed when it comes to affirmative action is not just going to stop with education.
No.
And my question is as a country, I don't think we're ready. I don't think we're where the right wants to believe we are. And I don't even think they truly believe we're ready. They just want it gone because they see how affirmative action has negatively impacted their wealth.
I think that this affirmative action over the educational system in 20 years will be looked back on and be deemed the best thing for the Black race.
Yes, I'm with it.
What it being over?
Absolutely.
All of these Black scholars aren't going to get into the Ivy League schools, so they're going to have to go to HBCUs.
Oh, well, that might be a boost, but it depends on what the HBCU. So my thing is with colleges, a lot of colleges, and all of us being Christian, believing in Jesus, a lot of these colleges they tend to try to draw people away from God and the things of God.
No,
with the fraternities and things like that. Those things are not of God. I don't know what y'all.
So here's the thing, and then so there's a responsibility.
If you look at the basis of where these fraternities started, God was the center of them because the fraternity.
But not anymore, though.
And that's our own African American fault.
Yeah, not anymore.
We're the ones who changed.
Yeah,
a lot of the fraternities are absolutely godless, and in their.
Well, here's my thing.
You're fading out, Anjanette. I will wait for you to come back in. The problem with a lot of the fraternities is that the members have to take secret oaths. That's a problem because according to Bible and according to Scripture, we're not allowed as Christians to take secret oaths. We can't do that, and that's forbidden for us to do in the Bible. So that's the problem with a lot of fraternities and sororities is because they're forbidden to talk about certain aspects of their membership. There is a secret oath that goes along with those fraternity memberships. And that's the unspoken part. And that's what is ungodly because we're not allowed to take secret oaths as Christians. That's in the Bible.
So that's up to us as Christian parents, right? To teach our children that they can't be part of that. When my daughter went to TSU, she already knew she wasn't pledging nothing. We do history. We know where it came from. We know why we started pledging grief, because we always want to be part of what they doing. That's how we got in this mess in the first place with the education, because we looked over there, they had better books than us, they had all this, and we want to be part of them. We want to be so involved with them. Leave them people alone and build our own. Thank you so much. Now we can teach our own children the right way. Thank you. We appreciate you. Because now we can build our own schools. And now we can have our own curriculum. And there's nothing they can say about it, because they abolished affirmative action. So there's nothing they can say. So now our children, our scientists can come back. Our doctors can come back. Our lawyers can go to the best law schools, because our HBCUs have some of the best law schools. TSU in Texas has the best law school. One of the best law schools, but they don't talk about it because they want you to go to these Ivy League schools. We can keep our own schools. We can get black. We got a black elementary school right here in San Antonio, from zero to from first to fifth grade. Let them.
So
we can start over.
So you think with the development of minority-led schools and the abolishment of affirmative action might actually help benefit the African American community, the black community?
And I'm gonna tell you another thing. I'm gonna tell you something else historically, right? Well, statistically. 61%. This is why this whole thing came about. 61% of white women are single mothers, while 31% of black women are single mothers as of 2020. So we got 3 years. We can figure out whether that's increase or decrease, right? So what's happening is these single white mothers cannot get scholarships for their children to go to regular schools, because there's no scholarships if you're a white single mother. But if you're a black single mother, or a Hispanic single mother, or an Indian single mother, and that is why we have the affirmative action even coming up as an issue, because it started to affect the white woman and her being a single parent and not being able to send her children to college. As long as it wasn't affecting them, it was fine. But now that it's affecting them and their households and their lineage and their generations, now they want to abolish it. Mm-hmm. Because it's not giving them the advantage. Now we almost gonna have the better playing field.
They said the group that benefited the most from affirmative action was actually white women.
Absolutely.
It was actually white women, not black women, not black men. It was mostly white women who benefited from affirmative action. And I think the reason why we're going to start to see a lot of minority-based equity type laws start to go away is because they have the new minority now. And I'm not going to say it, but it's the alphabet. You have the new minority now. And so I think they're slowly phasing us out as the minority that they care about. And they're phasing them in order to say, oh, we're diverse. Because look, we have them here. How can so you notice now diversity is no longer an issue of color. When that was the whole reason diversity was created, because the inequities was based on color. So what they've done to me, and I don't know if y'all paying attention, because this is what I see. Y'all gonna say it may be a bit of a conspiracy theory, but out of the 11 million, I think it's 11.2 million as of January of last year, were considered members of the LGBTQ in this country. That's it. You would think it was way more. Out of the 350 million people, a million people in this country, only about 11.2 million identify as one of them. And so out of all of that, you only have about 1.2 million of them that consider themselves black. So it's a very small group. And so the majority of them is not us. So now they're the new minority. They're the new face of diversity. So now that they've created a new face of diversity, they can now get rid of the diversity laws that were based on race, because now gender is the new well, they want to say the new minority. That's the new minority that everybody's caring about now. So I think that's the reason why these laws are starting to be abolished, because they have a group to replace us with. Does that make sense?
And that's going to be the biggest mistake of their life.
I see it coming too.
And the reason being is because their new minority is a melting pot of every race.
Right.
So,
but not that big of a melting pot, believe it or not. It's not that big of a melting pot.
But it's big enough to be heard.
Yeah.
And it's big enough to make a difference. And see, one thing about the alphabet community, and the only reason I call it that, I'm not saying it to be funny. I just don't know.
You're just trying to be banned.
I just don't know the order that the letters go in, because it changes all the time.
I use that term because I don't want the video.
I got you. But see, I use it because I don't know the order in which the lettering goes. But see, the thing about it is with that community, they want equal rights and justice for everybody. They don't care about your race, your color, your financial status, none of that.
They don't. I disagree with you there, because they fight against Christians.
If you read your Bible, everybody's gonna fight against Christians.
But what I'm saying is you're saying that they want equal things for everyone, not everybody, because they coming for us.
You know why they're coming for Christians?
And I think we started coming for them though. We started coming for them.
For Christians.
I don't agree with.
They're coming for Christians because of all of the fake Christians who are Christian by title and not by belief are the ones that are trying to kill them.
And that I can agree with.
So why wouldn't they come for Christians? Okay,
so what I mean when I say they coming for Christians is because if you guys have been paying attention to the new laws and some of the designations they done made as far as what they consider the biggest threat to America. And they said it was conservative Christian right wingers. And we as Black people, we don't really pay attention to that because we don't think that will affect us. But you have to think about this country and look at everything from a spiritual standpoint. There's only good and evil. So a lot of times they will take one group that they know everybody doesn't like. Nobody really wants to be associated with. And then they'll use that group to really attack what it is they really want to attack, and that's Christianity. Because it's not about the white right-wingers, it's really about Christianity. So that's the reason why they tag Christianity on with them, so they can get everybody to accept designating them as a terrorist threat to the country. So that they associate it with Christianity. And so anytime and then they've made that the Alphabet Club the darling that nobody wants to say anything against. And then as soon as somebody says something against them, it becomes an attack towards our faith as Christians. Because it's every that ideology of that being a sin or that being wrong is rooted in Christianity. So the people that come against their lifestyle, it always turns into an attack on Christianity from them, because that's the faith that is most verbal against the lifestyle. Does that make sense? So
it's prominent in the United States. That is the most permanent, because if you go to the Middle East and part of the community, you're gonna die. They're gonna kill you.
Yeah, the Arab world.
Yeah, they're gonna kill you.
Yeah,
they're intolerant of it.
Africa has very strict laws against it too.
Yeah, so they're very intolerant of it on the East, but the West has made it, tolerable to a certain extent. And so when it's spoken out of, because in every biblical or religious writing that is not natural nowhere. Okay, nowhere. Now they got a book coming out. They got a Bible coming out. They got one coming out. That's
for them.
Yeah, they got one coming.
They've changed the scripture.
Yeah, they changed it all. They changed the whole thing. But the ancient writings that wasn't even thought of. That wasn't even a thing that people even thought to do. Right. So, unfortunately, Christians and the white gringos and all that stuff, we pointed at that particular group of people. Once we was done with black folks, then we started talking about that. More than adultery, more than fornication, more than murder, more than all of the sins, we pointed to that. Why? Because it's a direct contradiction
on
God's order.
Mm-hmm.
For procreation.
And a lot of people don't understand that. They think that they're being more attacked because we think that their sin is worse than no, it's just because that sin is a totally different attack on that's the attack on God's, like you said, ecclesiastical order itself. Like,
and it really has nothing to do with church, because animals, right? A dog go find to procreate, he go find what? A female dog, right? A fish or a snake, they wrap themselves together. The female and female snake don't wrap themselves together.
And you might have procreate in nature, but the theory is what you're saying is 100% correct. It's a total natural order.
It's out of total natural order. And let me tell you this. If I be honest, I did not agree with this theory or what I'm saying 4 months ago. Seriously. I had to ask God, so what's up with this? Why are we picking on these people?
And it's not even on them, because
that's what I felt. I felt that way. I'm like, leave these folk alone. If they going, they gonna bust it wide open, let them do it. Because we all going, somebody going, we all.
But if you think about
the Holy Spirit said, I'm gonna tell you why this is a problem for me. And I said, okay. Only the problem that I have with all sin, because this is not even part of the 7 abominations. He said this ain't even that. He said this is a direct contradiction to why I made man and woman to procreate and fill the earth. A man and a man cannot fill the earth. That's why this is a problem. It's coming, and then you still got to have a man and a woman some kind of way. So maybe now you got a sperm. They done found a way to put the sperm inside of a woman, and then the stud of the other woman had a baby. It's just unnatural order. That's all, and it's not against nobody.
No, I'm just trying not to get this video banned.
I'm sorry. What did I say now? I'm sorry. I need rules.
I'm gonna start muting you.
Mute me. I ain't gonna say nothing else. What did I say now?
You ain't say nothing wrong.
Man, you ain't say nothing wrong, but you said something wrong.
It's just the uncut, unfiltered version.
I'm sorry, y'all. I have no filter. I should have warned you. I'm sorry. Please don't ban. I'm gonna be quiet so y'all can be quiet.
I don't have a lot of strikes on my tip. So if it get banned, this is a learning experience.
It's not
I need to know what I can't say. Because I say anything on my stuff.
This gonna be the video that blow you up. It ain't gonna get banned.
Oh my God, girl.
But see.
You see me over here while you talking, I'm like,
I'm thinking about what she's saying, and it all makes perfectly good sense. First and foremost, Christianity is one of the most.
Okay, let me stop. I want to pull us back on topic. Back to affirmative action. Breathe, y'all. I'm gonna let you say what you're about to say, Brian.
I got you.
After Brian talk, we're gonna go back to affirmative action. Go ahead, Brian.
I was gonna bring us back to affirmative action.
Good, bring us back, Brian. Bring us
back. They messed up when they took God out of the schools, first and foremost.
That's right.
Secondly, affirmative action, like I said, is going to be, this is going to be the basis of the building block that one, brings the Black educational system back up to prominence where it should be. Two, it's going to, this affirmative action is going to bring God back into the educational system. Why? Because one thing as Black kids that we were taught on our first day of kindergarten was say your prayers on the way to school, baby.
Yeah, we're gonna pray. Let's pray.
So we're going to continue to put that back into our children. Guess what they're going to go to school knowing how to do? Guess what they're going to do over their lunch in the cafeteria? Guess what they're going to do before they take a test? Guess what they're going to do to have a good day? Touching, but see, they're not going to call it praying. What they're going to call it is, let's touch and agree.
So y'all two still got young people in school. Because how old is your child, Anjanette?
My son is 13.
And how old is your daughter, Brian?
How old does she look, or how old does her birth certificate say?
I know how old she is, but I'm just asking.
Yeah, she's only 10, but my daughter's 5'9" and weighs 149 pounds.
Lord,
that's a big girl.
She wears a size 10 in grown women's shoe and a size 8 long in pants.
So
Lord.
I'm saying that to say, because you guys, because y'all know my kids going all night. So I'm saying, except I got grandkids. I got a 10-year-old grandson and an 8-year-old granddaughter. But their parents are on top of that. But as a parent in this society, your kids are going to be most affected by these new affirmative action rulings. And so what do you guys as parents have in store to assure that your children still, if you want so choose, or if they choose to go to college, get into the best college that they want to get into? They are able to because they don't have affirmative action anymore. So what is your plans now when it comes to your kids' secondary education once they get done with high
school? My children.
Go ahead, Brian.
My daughter already said she wants to go to Europe to study. But if that doesn't come to pass, here we come Grambling, here we come Tennessee State, here we come Florida Agricultural Mechanical University, here we come Morehouse, here we come Spelman, here we come Clark Atlanta, here we come one of y'all.
I'm so excited. Listen, I'm so excited. When I was little, it never made sense to me why my mama wanted to get bused to go to this school for these people to spit on them and do all of this stuff over the fact that they had better books. I never understood that. Mama said when she was growing up that mattered to her. Now we are in a position where we don't have to have the hand-me-down computers. Go ahead.
You know what just hit me? There is a difference now back from when affirmative action first started. We have the internet. There is nothing that y'all didn't change my mind, because I had came into this show thinking like, okay, we ain't ready for this.
No, we ready. Oh no, baby, we
have the internet now. So there is nothing our children can't learn if they want to learn it. Nope. Even now, to me, I feel like as much as they're trying to take parents out of education and trying to do all these different things to indoctrinate our children in school with things that we don't want them to learn, by doing this, you are now activating parents, because now these parents can't rely on affirmative action to make sure that their kids learn what they need to learn. Now we as parents have to start getting on the internet and teaching our kids ourselves and making sure they have access, because with the internet now, like when I was in school, we didn't have internet.
We didn't either.
We had it, but it was barely there. It was
first. Girl, you remember it was www, and then it was www. And then we had the little film. You remember we had the film.
Dial up, and we had to get all them different noise. Oh, girl, it was crazy. It was crazy what we had to deal with. But if I had the type of internet that my grandkids and that your kids have now, when I was whoa!
Listen, our kids can learn robotics. Listen, our kids in America the average American reads on a 7th grade level.
Yeah.
My black son. So what you taking, like, so you taking me out of affirmative action on education, and my black son was reading on the 7th grade level and 3rd grade. What are we saying?
Yeah.
Right? I want to be part of your affirmative action so bad when the average American doesn't even read on a 12th grade level.
And you know what else is crazy?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's all of these schools that want to take affirmative action out that aren't even teaching your kids how to sign their name.
They're not even teaching good things in college and in school.
But yet, there's a couple of African American Christian schools and a couple of African American schools that I know of that are teaching all of this. So yeah, please continue to do away with please continue to do affirmative action in the educational system so that you can force my child to not be able to go to your school, and you're going to force her to go to a school where they're going to teach her not math, but they're going to teach her economics.
So do you think affirmative action is going to affect what's being taught in school on a local level? Because you know this is for college.
I think it's going to affect what's being taught in school on a global level. Because what's going to happen is when Sally and Karen and Jessica's babies, when their educational system is starting to decline, and they're going to have to come over to these African American schools to get the updated books, updated manuals, you're going to see reverse affirmative action try to be kicked in, because now they're going to want their kids to come to our school. I was looking at Howard University.
So let me ask you a question.
Stay over there with your mama now. Stay over there with your mama now. No.
I just thought about something though. How is affirmative action going to affect HBCUs?
How's it going to affect what?
HBCUs, because
colleges
are not allowed to use race for admission.
What's going to happen? Here's what's going to happen. They don't have to use race.
Look at your face, Anjanette. You just thought.
Because I can't say what I want to say. I can't. I'm gonna get you banned.
Think about it and come up with a nice way to say it.
They're not gonna have to use race. They have already planted the race card so down in the ground already that race is going to use itself, because these young black kids nowadays, they could care less. They're going to say, we don't want to go.
What I'm saying is, does this affirmative action ruling get rid of HBCUs?
No.
It blows them to the forefront.
How? Because they said
because we're under a different.
Hold on. I'm gonna let you answer Antoinette. Hold on. I just gotta say something real quick.
Oh, go ahead.
I can still hear y'all, but I've got to run in my kitchen real quick. So y'all continue to talk.
Go ahead.
So the HBCU, when they established a historically black college, the reason why they established it was because we couldn't get into we didn't have any schools to go to. Historically black colleges have a different set of rules. The reason why we know that is because they had to go back to the government to get funding, right? They are on a whole different level. So guess what? My black child gets to go to a black school because
you know what? I'm about to Google it because I want to see if there's any type of article on it, because I just thought
but this is how it can affect it. How it can affect it is how white and Hispanic, or I guess white kids, I don't know how that would work, but like white kids will want to go to a black school because affirmative action works both ways, right? So then you have a ratio of white kids. So now, because it's abolished, they don't have to have a race of white kids. They can have all black or Hispanic or whatever children. Because
but what I'm saying, with affirmative action being abolished, you can't admit based on race. So if you have an all black school, that's saying that you're admitting people based on race.
But we were established because of that.
But does affirmative action eliminate it?
I don't think so.
That's what I'm looking at right now.
Yeah, we finna see.
You let me know if you get something first.
Affirmative action is not going to affect that, because what's going to happen is when these Caucasians start sending their, now it's going to be what is the best educational system. And they're going to realize the best educational system is going to come from these HBCUs and their curriculums that are taught. So true enough, you're going to have more Caucasians at Howard and Grambling and everything else, but that's not going to stop who is running Howard and Grambling. That's not going to stop who's in charge. All that's going to do is bring these.
Okay.
They're not going to call them historically black colleges. Huh?
Go ahead. No. I found that article. Go ahead.
Oh, they're not going to call them historically black colleges anymore. They're just going to call them colleges now. They're going to have to take the black colleges and university off of it because affirmative action prevents that from being that. They're going to have to call them Division I schools like they do, because they don't call Princeton a historically white college.
Do you know affirmative action is also going to affect the amount of diverse professors in school too? It doesn't only affect the students, it affects the hiring of the staff as well for the school. So they no longer have to take that into consideration when it comes to hiring for the school. So they can have all white teachers or all black teachers or all whatever. Like they don't have to have diversity in their staffing.
Okay, and my kid doesn't have to go to that college. My kid can go to a college where the majority of her professors will be African-American women just like her, and she will proudly and happily go there. See, the difference is
so
now.
What you gonna get to do, America? Okay, let me be quiet because I'm going to get you banned.
Took the next sentence out my mouth.
We're
about to reintroduce the world to a brand new America where if you don't want me there, guess what? I won't go there. I'll create my own.
I will know this video ages in 10 years.
And go over there with your mama and them. Your mama and them said that y'all going over there. Y'all want to go to Princeton. Y'all want to go to Duke and Howard. Go on over there. Stay on over there. Don't come over here.
Don't come over here. And don't come to our parties either.
Don't
come to the homecoming.
To the picnic, cousin. You take one.
The article I just read says that the affirmative action ruling is going to increase the importance of HBCUs, because the HBCU school I just read, their goal when they were established was not necessarily, black people only. It was to help those who had harder opportunities of going to college to go to college. So they said with the affirmative action ruling, that's only going to enhance the importance of HBCU. So you guys were right there.
Exactly. And you're going to realize, I guarantee you, give it 20 years. And Grambling, Tennessee State, what else? Which other one? Morehouse and
Spelman,
Prairie. Yes. But I think I forget where I was reading it at. It's like 4 HBCUs that they talked about. I know Howard was one, I know Spelman was one, and I know Morehouse was the other. I can't think of the 4th one. In 20 years, they're going to be equally diverse, my African Americans and everybody else. But that will not change how they hire their professors. Their professors and their teachers will still be majority African Americans. So little Susie's daughter is going to have all black teachers. Okay. Now, what type of culture shock is she in for during Black History Month when they teach what really happened? Because at HBCUs, they really teach what happened during slavery.
The real stuff.
They teach the real stuff. So you want to talk about some confused folks? What's going to happen when little Jessica goes home and says, Mommy, I didn't know that they put slaves in hot boxes.
Well,
I didn't know that they...
with the TikTok and all that other stuff, the younger generation is learning a lot about what actually happened in slavery, because they're seeing the videos and the little educational videos that people of color are posting that's educating people about what happened during that time frame. So there are a lot of young people that are learning about that stuff, just even on social media.
Yeah. Well, now it's about to be in the classroom.
Wow.
So the classroom is going to back up, and the classroom is going to show them that what they learned on, because right now, when they see it on social media, all their mama and daddies are saying is, that's social media, baby. You can't believe everything.
That's fake news.
But when it comes out of the classroom and it's part of their curriculum, now mommy and daddy can't say anything about it. Now they got to come real. And what happens when they refuse to have those real conversations? The little Caucasian kids are going to see the truth for what it really is.
I think a lot of people really know the truth already.
I don't.
It's just an issue of gaslighting us to not to, so we don't, they're trying to keep us hush about it. That's all it is. We know.
It's like it happened so long ago. Somebody said, I was at work one day a while back, and the dude said, but that was so long ago. I said, how old is your mother? My mother's 65. Would you agree that your mother's not old? Yeah. Okay, so when your mama was 65, right? Then we were in the fight for civil rights.
Yeah, my mama was fighting for her right to vote.
Right? So he was like, it wasn't, so he goes and researches it, and he comes back to me and he says, I owe you an apology. I thought that was over 100 and something 50 years ago. Because that's what I've been told in my family, that happened so many years ago. And I never questioned it, whether Martin Luther King died 80 years ago. But he died, back in whenever he was killed. I don't remember the date.
I can Google it. Go ahead.
69, I think. But when he died, my mama was 7, so maybe it was. But yes, it was right. My mom was like 13, 69, something like that. So.
1968 is when he died.
Okay, I was saying 69. Okay, so I was telling him, we were talking about that, and we had these discussions a lot because I was the only African American that worked for my company, and we would get into these discussions. We're not supposed to, but we did, and they learned a lot, and a lot of times out of ignorance, and what they've been told is those people, they're just butthurt because they're mad because they're drug dealers and thugs and this and that. But not really taking into account that this just happened. We just got to the point where I could vote. I just got that right. And your mother is 65, not even your grandmother. So if you're going to ask your grandmother, she can remember when black people wasn't voting.
And then, you know what? And then what you just said, that ties so much into the importance of our representation in media and entertainment, because that's all they know who don't really know anybody who's black. That's all they know and see. We're going to talk about that on the show too, because I think that's something we really need to dig into, and how responsible we are as a race for that representation in media and TV. I wanted to play this little part right quick, and then we're going to wrap up, y'all. We've been talking
discriminating on the basis of race.
But y'all don't want to really have a married conversation, do y'all? I don't think you do.
Do we stop discriminating on the basis of race?
When people in positions of power have proven that they're exercising fairness, come hella high water. It's really, really that simple. I'm so glad that you asked that question.
But that's impossible to define.
There's no.
He says, when do you stop discriminating on the basis of race? When they stop discriminating on the basis of race.
He is so delusional. Like oh my goodness.
America are you living in?
Again.
Where does he live?
example. Why did Yale in the 70s sit up there and say, we want 10% of our student populace to be made up of minorities? You know why? Because they knew without those rules, those laws in place, they didn't anticipate that would be allowed. In today's corporate America, you still have folks. You have black folks being paid less than white folks. You have black women being paid less than white women. You have white women obviously deserving a lot of opportunities that they obviously richly deserve. They're getting paid less than white men. Everywhere you turn, there's a level of unfairness that's being exercised.
But you're ascribing
the
all
only
those
thing that
differences.
changes that is the law as opposed to somebody's conscience.
But you're ascribing all those differences to race when there's so many different contributing factors into why corporate America may look a certain way. You and I both look.
Oh!
What is he talking about? Yo, what is he talking about?
What did he say?
He said you're attributing all those things to race. And he said race may not be the reason why all those things are happening. Let's just let him talk, y'all. Let's just listen.
Oh my God. Oh, you're ascribing those things to race. Really? Go to my iPad right here. Study reveals how white households headed by high school dropouts are 3 times wealthier than black families led by a college graduate. A shocking new study reveals white American high school dropouts 3 times likely. The study also found that white college students receive more free financial handouts from their parents than their black counterparts. Black families overall are also less likely to receive a healthy inheritance payout. See, I love how Will Kane tried to do a little dance like, oh, no. There are other factors. Yes, Will, there are other factors because it's likely white boys like you who are in power who then are providing and giving jobs and opportunities to folk who are non-black.
And see, and that's why I think a lot of them are so excited about this affirmative action ruling, because they see where the dominoes are going to fall. And I feel like it's going to hit other areas as well, too, as far as business and finance. And it's going to hit other areas. And I think this is the reason why they're so excited, because now it can go back to the way it was.
No, they're not. Because we're not our ancestors.
What'd you say, girl?
Amen.
What'd you say, girl?
I'm sorry, it's not going that way. It's not going back. We're not going back to Jim Crow. I'm not going to be looking down at the pavement. I'm not going to do none of that. I'm gonna teach my black child, send my black child to black college, like y'all want me to. I'm just doing what you say. Okay, I'm just following the rules. And have my child excel in America using its capitalist society and the rules and regulations to get ours. So thank you.
We're going to listen to, I think, the last little bit.
All of a sudden, she became a main anchor because she was cute. And the execs liked her. Press play.
Sports, we both debated in sports. I could play turnabout as fair play and go, why aren't there more white NBA players? That must be discrimination. But we both know the answer is because merit has dictated who's in the NBA. And whatever's happening in society, and I would never, Stephen A., I would never sit here and say every decision made is purely based upon merit. But we aspire to that. We aspire to that.
Right.
And so to me, what he's saying right here is the crux of the whole thing. He said we aspire to it. So we're not there yet. He's admitting that we're not there yet by saying we aspire to it. And then if you're going to use the NBA as an example of a system that's based on merit, then you have to go to the ownership of the NBA. How much of that is owned by minorities or people of color or black people? Let's go to the NFL. How much of that is owned by a black person or a person of color? So no matter what industry you go in, you might see black people flourishing within an industry, but who owns the industry?
Right. And that's the problem. It's who owns the industry. So yes, we're thriving and we're doing well because we dominate in areas because we're talented in those areas. But that doesn't mean that we own it. Just like when Kaepernick took a knee, they canceled that boy.
Which was so wrong.
They canceled that boy.
That was.
And they were saying, shut up and play. Be quiet. Don't say nothing. Social issues are not your issue. Play the game. That's what we pay you for.
And that's what they think of us.
Indentured servant. I'm paying you good money to be quiet and let me mistreat your people.
You don't have it. This is not your country. And see, the reason why until a black person can speak freely, because you'll have right wingers who will talk about the president, talk about the country, talk about the laws, talk about how much they don't like stuff that's going on in the country, but nobody ever tells them to go back where they came from. But if a black
I ain't gonna say nothing. I'm gonna use my.
But if a black person starts to talk about the problems that they have with this country, go back to Africa then.
I have a question.
So how can you tell how is it until they stop doing that, then we're equal. If you can fuss and complain about stuff that's going on in this country that you don't like, and you're still a patriot, then allow me to fuss and complain about stuff I don't like about this country, and I still be a patriot. Why you got to tell me to go back to Africa when I complain? That means
where can they go?
Because you don't see me as an equal in this country.
But where can they go?
Europe, France, wherever they came from.
No.
Ireland, where? I don't know where they came from.
They can't.
You know, so
because you know what they say in Europe? In Europe, they tell them that they're Americans.
Right. And we mix up nationality, race so much that I think half the people don't even know what they truly are when it's all said and done.
When it's all said and done, they don't.
Right.
So we should not, in America, we should stop telling people to go back where they came from.
Right, because they're here now. Nobody originated here. The only one that originated here was the indigenous people that was here when we got here. When they got here. Because I wasn't here. I was born here. You know. So yeah, it's a lot of foolishness going on. Let me play this last little part of this video. I'm trying to wait for Brian to get back.
Well, you would say that, and I would say to you that the power structure in the United States of America is still predominantly white. And so as a result, what white America is asking you to do is ultimately to trust that your heart is going to be in the right place. And there are a plethora of people throughout minority communities in this country who would challenge that and would say, no, we don't necessarily believe that to be the case, which is why we need the laws to help us. When you bring up sports, and you and I have argued back and forth as friends and brothers talking about the world of sports and some of the iniquities that have taken place. You can bring up the NBA, for example. I can point to something called the meritocracy because I see their performance on the court just as much as you do. There isn't some curtain, there isn't some proverbial glass ceiling. Yeah. We're literally witnessing it. But when we look at the NFL, for example, the Rooney Rule was still in existence. This is the #1 professional sports league in this country. Why is the Rooney Rule still in existence? Because we've seen one opportunity after another where capable, qualified black individuals were bypassed because of the system that was in place, primarily run by white individuals who asked us to trust them, but then proved they weren't worthy of the trust that they requested. Yeah. And so those are the kind of challenges we have to deal with as a country. And there's just no way around that. The only way we can make it better is people like yourself and myself talking about it honestly and openly.
I agree. And I will say that I think that the mistake that we often make, and where you and I find our debate, is whether or not we ascribe all those differences to the big factor being race. Listen, next time we're together,
come on. See, so here's where we get to the whole meat of this whole deal. He sat here and he didn't want to address the Rooney Rule. See, because Will Kane didn't want to have to address. Wait a minute, hold up. If black folks are so successful on the field, why did not opportunities off the field? See, they don't want to deal with that. So you notice how he got
So that's why I want to kind of bring us to, because we talked a lot about everything. So what I wanted to bring us back to is that if we understand the realities that even though that rule is gone now, there's not that much change to me on the other side. Is there enough change on our side that this won't be our demise? What can we do as a black community to make sure that no matter what law they pass, we still succeed?
So I think it starts kind of where you are, right? And we all have to come into agreement. So our musical influences, their voices cannot be louder than ours. Right? Our voices and our children's lives cannot be stronger than the city girls, right? Because we have to influence our children to say that's entertainment and this is real life, right? And that is a certain a point something percentage of African Americans that are on that stage that are successful, right? And that are portraying a particular role because they give those people those roles. Those people are not always like that. Those people didn't come in saying, I'm a city girl and I'm a this, but because they wanted them to portray that. And that is what they want our children, because what we see with our eyes is what we're going to do, right? It's going to enter in our heart and then enter into our mind. And that's how that works.
What can we do as individuals? You, me, Brian. What can we do? Because I'm so serious about this, y'all. This conversation has really made me think about a lot. And it's time for parents and adults like us to activate. But what do we do? Do we hold educational videos? Do we start doing videos where we teach about certain things to make sure kids have? How do we get kids access to us?
Well, we can use our platform. We can reach their parents, right? We can, use our platform. We can bring people in, like from Ohio, from Texas, and we can talk to children. We can hold Zoom meetings for children. I have a daughter that does financial literacy classes for children. My oldest daughter, impacting the area that you live in. You can't impact the world. God gives us dominion. You have dominion in your side of Ohio. Brian has dominion in his side of Ohio. I have my dominion in San Antonio and wherever my influence goes, right? And so that's the only thing we can do is start educating our people on how we can get our children to take education serious.
So what you're saying is that there needs to be some type of network.
Absolutely.
Parents and we had a person watching. They made a comment, but I don't see it. But so it needs to be a network of parents and grandparents who are willing to pick up the slack somehow and structure some type of curriculum in order to supplement what we think our kids need. Is that what I hear you saying, Brian?
Most definitely. Our kids' curriculum, first of all, as Black people, what we need to stop doing is letting these schools raise our kids. First and foremost, we have to assume leadership as their parents and take responsibility for what we allow them to see, hear, say, and do. For so long, I hear, just in the line of work I do, you'll be surprised how many times I've heard parents get on the teachers talking about, from this hour to this hour, you're the one raising them. That's your responsibility. No, their job is to educate them. It is your job to raise them. Now, if your little Black kid goes to school and acts retarded, and you wondering why he's getting put out, you want to go yell at the teacher for putting your kid out when your kid is trying to fight the teacher. That's crazy. So we as parents, first and foremost, need to be their first teacher and their last teacher. The school's only job for my daughter is to pick up where I left off. Because her real, say what?
So what I hear you saying, because I heard her saying we need to reach the kids. We need to develop something, Zoom meetings, conferences, whatever, in order to bring the kids together. And then I hear you saying we need to bring the parents together. So I'm thinking we probably need to do parenting conferences for the parents. We need to do children's conferences aimed at the children. So I think we can work together and go forward. I hope other people, and it doesn't have to be just Black people, it could be white people, Puerto Rican. I don't care who you are. It's time for everybody to start supplementing their children's education with the things that they feel like their children need. Because we understand that the public school system is not going to feed them according to what we want them to know. So I would encourage, I think what I hear us encouraging parents to do is to develop a network where you all come together, we all come together, and we write out and determine what we want our kids to know that the education system is failing them in. Y'all can agree with that?
Or we just elect I agree with you, but there's even a simpler thing than that. Let's start electing better educators.
Well, see, but if we wait for that perfection, we're gonna lose kids along the way because
politicians. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We've been trying to do that, and I do agree with you, Brian. We do need to get more focused on getting better, teachers and educators. But with the current political climate and the way that you see things going, and with the current indoctrination in schools, it's going to be hard to dial that back. So what we need to do now is realize what direction is going in and find a way to redirect our kids, to redirect our youth. And that's going to start with, I think, reaching out to the parents and getting them in and talking to them and say, okay, this is something you can do to redirect your child. Do you see what's going on in school now? Go ahead.
My mother is a retired teacher, and I mean, it starts at home. And it's unfortunate, but mom and dad, they are just not, that is their break. That 8:30 or 7:30 to 3:30, that is their break. They are not trying to do anything outside of what's happening. But now it needs to be activated because we're losing ourselves in this whole thing. If we're not careful, we will lose, right? This can be a very good time to erase the slate, erase history, not worry about that and move forward. Right. And when they say we have the opportunities and all that stuff, okay, well, we can take what we have now and we can move forward. However, if we don't have these parents backing us and these children that don't want to go to college, right? Or these children that don't want to be entrepreneurs, that don't want to do anything but be whatever they see on TV, we got a problem.
Right.
We have to be the bigger voice in our children's life.
So I think there needs to be a redirect. I don't know if we can call it. So we need to come up with a way to redirect the kids, because that's, to me, is the only way to save them. We can't count on politicians. We can't count on the teachers because they're the ones helping to lead them astray. It's up to us as a people to pull everybody in and say, look, y'all, we got to do it for ourselves now.
My son is part of a leaders in training group. He's a boy, and I put him with other men, and he around other boys, and they meet every Saturday, and they talk about emotional intelligence, kindness, things like that. And they go through this program, and he can stay in that program until he's 18 years old. Wow. And then he turns around and he gives back. So now he's teaching the classes.
Okay. What were you about to say, Brian?
I'm sorry?
I want to make sure Brian, because I thought Brian was about to say something.
Oh, no. I had to get in my car. I got to go pick up my daughter. My neighbor just spoke. I just said hello.
Oh, I know you on your way. You on this daddy mission. He's a girl dad.
Oh.
I'm the deaf and see, I'm the one that coined that phrase, #girl dad.
I bet
wasn't
you
Kobe. Kobe didn't start that. We started that my oldest daughter's 26. We started that 25 years ago. She told me I was a girl dad.
The ultimate girl dad.
I'm that dad that's been outside doing
all the time.
I'm that father that's been doing cheers in the driveway and making pyramids with people. All of that.
Just like him. She looked just like him.
Does she?
That's his mini-me.
It's sickening how much we look and act alike. It makes no sense. We sleep the same. We have the same sleep patterns. We got the same foul little we got the same snappy attitudes. Like her mama told me about a week ago, she said, I don't know what I'm gonna do with her. I said, you're gonna give her to me. And I'm gonna give her back to you, and her whole life will be rearranged. My daughter stayed with me for 2 weeks straight, went home, and her mama said, you must have whooped her every day. Absolutely not. I let her know that this is how it was gonna be. I said, see, one thing about children and what I've learned, parents make too many idle threats.
Yeah.
If I hear another parent say around Christmas, if you don't act right, Santa Claus ain't coming to the house. My child knows. My child knows.
I'm the parent.
I told my daughter 3 years ago, I said, I dare you act up again, you won't get one gift. 2 days later, she acted up. Guess what was under the Christmas tree Christmas morning? Nothing. Nothing at all. And I made her go to all of her cousins' house and watch all of them open their presents.
Oh.
But here's the thing. Guess what we haven't had since then?
A problem.
A problem. Now, I gave her all of her gifts on December the 26th. She got all of her gifts on the 26th.
Made her sweat.
No, I made her hurt on Christmas. It wasn't the same.
He said I made her hurt.
Yeah.
But sometimes you got to. You got to teach kids a lesson.
Idle threats don't work.
Hurt feelings ain't never killed nobody.
Hurt feelings produce the best change.
Yes, it does.
Okay, so guys, I think we've covered a lot of bases here, and I think if parents take the time to listen to this video, they're going to hear a lot of good advice from you guys. You guys still have young people in school. I'm a grandma, so I got young people in school too. And I just want to thank you guys for joining me today. I really appreciate it. So you guys have changed my mind throughout this show. I wanted you to know that.
What?
Because I came into this show thinking that the elimination of affirmative action wasn't a good idea. I didn't think we were ready for it. And I still think, on the whole, we probably still not ready for it. But I feel like we can still overcome it. I feel you guys have given me hope that it's not the end all be all for us. So I appreciate y'all. I needed this show today.
Amen. Amen.
We about to go ahead and sign out. I'm going to play the outro. I want to thank you guys for joining me today. And this will not be the last time, I hope.
No, absolutely not. Thank you.
Okay, y'all. Thank you.